Imagine standing in a room you know by heart. White walls catching the glow of electric light, the faint hum of machines, the soft, familiar scent of coffee drifting in the air. And then, without warning, the space before you bends. The floor shifts under your feet. A thin, wavering veil of light hangs in front of you, rippling like heat over desert sand. You take a breath and step forward. The air changes instantly, heavier, thicker, filled with the damp perfume of soil and vegetation. The mechanical hum is gone. In its place comes a chorus of sounds so alien, yet so ancient, they seem etched into your bones. A guttural cough from an unseen animal, the metallic chatter of strange birds, the hiss of wind threading through tall grass. Your eyes adjust slowly. There are no roads here, no glass, no steel, just an unbroken horizon, a restless ocean of grass merging into forests under a sky unscarred by pollution. The sun is hotter, the shadows sharper, insects flash like shards of emerald and gold, and in the distance something moves, upright, broad-shouldered, walking like you, but not quite. Every sense sharpens, awe and caution wrestle in your chest. Here, every step carries consequence. A twisted ankle could be the end. A wrong turn might erase you forever. Yet somehow you know this place, not from books, not from dreams, but in your blood. Because this is Earth, your Earth, 100,000 years ago. A chapter your species has almost forgotten, and yet one that still lives inside you. When most of us picture this distant past, a single image rises without effort. The shaggy-haired caveman, stooped and scowling, a crude club in his hand, standing in the mouth of a cave while some snarling beast prowls nearby. It's a scene painted by decades of cartoons, adventure films, and classroom illustrations. Life in this picture is nothing more than a desperate scramble to survive. We see them as silhouettes against firelight, moving only when hunger or danger forced them. They speak in grunts, they live in shadows, and they die young. It is a vision so familiar that we rarely question it, even as it flattens an entire era into a crude stereotype. Hollywood has kept the myth alive, sweeping shots of endless hunts, spears flashing under a pitiless sun, human life reduced to the raw contest of predator and prey. Even the most careful documentaries often rush through this time, compressing hundreds of millennia into a brief montage of stone tools, bare feet, and smoke. But what if we have been looking through the wrong lens? What if, behind those simple drawings and quick reenactments, was a world alive with meaning? A place of skill, memory, and connection. What if these people were not on the first rungs of a ladder toward civilization, but already living within rich, intricate worlds of their own design? And if that's true, then the line we draw between them and us may be far thinner than we've been led to believe. For all our satellites mapping the globe, for all the laboratories decoding strands of ancient DNA, there is still so much we do not know about what it truly meant to be human 100,000 years ago. We can trace the sweeping arcs of migration across continents, but the daily rhythms, the laughter, the quarrels, the quiet moments of reflection have vanished into silence. We can name the tools they left behind, but not the melodies they might have hummed while shaping them. Strangely, we hold sharper, more detailed images of dinosaurs from 65 million years ago than we do of our own ancestors in this relatively recent past. Fossils can tell us where bones lay, but not the stories whispered beside a fire, the rituals that marked a birth, or the unspoken rules that kept the peace within a band. Were these people quick to welcome strangers, or did they guard their territory with suspicion? Did they dream in the same layered symbols that haunt our own sleep? Was love as fierce, rivalry as bitter, loyalty as binding then as it is now? Each new archaeological find is like a single puzzle piece dropped into our hands, but the bigger picture remains hidden. And yet, these missing pieces matter, because if the architecture of our minds was built in that ancient world, then understanding it is not just a question about the past, it is a question about who we are, even now. The trail begins in fragments, small stubborn clues that refuse to vanish. A shard of flint chipped by deliberate hands. A smear of red ochre ground fine into powder. A footprint pressed into mud so long ago it has turned to stone. These are not lifeless relics. They are the echoes of moments lived, each one a frozen gesture across a gulf of time. In a cave on the southern coast of Africa, at Blombos, archaeologists uncovered carved pieces of ochre, etched with cross-hatched designs. They are deliberate, abstract, the work of minds capable not just of survival, but of symbol, of meaning. Thousands of miles away in Germany, at the site of Schöningen, wooden spear tips lay preserved in lakeside sediments. Balanced and shaped with precision, they speak of hunts that required planning, skill, and cooperation. Of people who understood that survival was a shared endeavor. Even the ground beneath us keeps their memory. In East Africa, fossilized footprints reveal a small group walking together across damp earth. Some prints sink deeper, bearing weight, perhaps of a child carried in tired arms. Others are lighter, quicker, as if a young one darted ahead. In these impressions, we see movement, relationship, and purpose frozen in time. And then there is the record written in us, in the double helix of our DNA. Sequencing has shown that Homo sapiens did not walk this earth alone. Neanderthals and Denisovans were part of the same tangled human story. They met, they mingled, and they left traces that still run through our blood. Taken together, these discoveries dissolve the old image of our ancestors as little more than shadows in the dark. They reveal a people already thinking, planning, creating, not on the road to humanity, but already there. The distance between their world and ours grows smaller with every fragment pulled from the earth. To glimpse the minds of humans 100,000 years ago, we can look sideways to the other intelligent lives that share our planet today. Among chimpanzees, power is not taken by brute strength alone, but by weaving alliances, trading favors, and reading the intentions of rivals. Elephants pause over the bones of their dead, touching them gently, returning year after year, as if drawn by memory and grief. Dolphins give themselves names, unique whistles that identify them to friends and family, and pass down intricate hunting techniques across generations. These are not human stories, but they are not alien either. They are strategies born of evolution, refined by the demands of living in social worlds where survival depends on cooperation as much as competition. Early Homo sapiens, living in small, tight-knit bands, faced the same challenges: finding food, avoiding predators, caring for the young, managing conflict. We can see the parallels in the way a raven will cache food only when it believes no one is watching, a small act of deception mirrored in our own histories, or in the way a chimpanzee offers a reassuring touch after a fight, a gesture our species has never abandoned. But humans added something more. They could lift these instincts into the realm of symbol, turning cooperation into ritual, turning memory into myth. This is where the boundary blurs, where animal and human stop being separate categories. The people of 100,000 years ago were not waiting for civilization to grant them complexity. They were already part of the long shared conversation of intelligent life on Earth. The first light spills across the savannah, turning the grasslands to molten gold under a sky still heavy with mist. In the shelter of a small acacia grove, a band of humans stirs. Men, women, and children rise together, their bodies tuned to the rhythms of the sun and the land. The air is cool for now, but the promise of heat presses in. Two hunters move out first, spears in hand, following the faint curve of fresh tracks in the damp earth. Others spread out to gather berries, dig for roots, and check old traps, eyes always scanning for danger. Out here, every decision balances risk against reward. Evening. Smoke curls upward in thin spirals. Firelight dances against faces lined with both youth and age. The day's efforts are laid out, a small hare roasting over the embers, a cluster of tubers pulled from the soil. Around the flames, voices rise in a familiar rhythm. A tale is told of a hunt gone wrong, of a predator's cunning, of the courage shown when the odds seemed hopeless. Children listen wide-eyed, storing these lessons for years to come. Here, knowledge is a living thing, passed mouth to mouth, memory to memory. The encounter. Days later, following the bend of a river, the group halts. On the opposite bank, strangers stand watching. Their silhouettes are still, but the tension is palpable. Are they kin or rivals, friend or threat? The air is tight with possibility. A single gesture, an open hand or a raised spear could decide the outcome. In these moments, we see the full spectrum of human life, the patient hunt, the shared meal, the delicate balance between caution and curiosity. Strip away the centuries, the cities, the languages, and the essence remains. A day in their world is, at its core, still a day in ours. Fear was their constant companion, not only the sharp fear of predators in the tall grass, but the slower, heavier fear of the unknown. A sudden illness with no remedy, a storm that split the sky in two, the silence of a hunting ground that should have been full of life. These uncertainties forced their minds to search for patterns, to weave meaning from chaos. In that search, the earliest seeds of belief and myth began to grow. Storytelling was not a pastime, it was a survival tool. The account of the man who ventured too far and never returned became a warning etched in memory. A song about the year the rains failed carried within it the knowledge of famine. Through these shared narratives, experience could leap across time, allowing lessons to outlive the people who first learned them. Symbolic thinking, the ability to let one thing stand for another, was the quiet revolution of our species. A carved mark could mean home. A painted shape could mean danger. A gesture could carry the weight of peace or the threat of war. This abstract thought allowed humans to cooperate in ways no other species could, and it opened the door to art, ritual, and the earliest stirrings of philosophy. We have changed our tools, our cities, our horizons, but the architecture of our minds is still theirs. We still crave patterns in the noise. We still pass warnings wrapped in stories. And we still look for meaning in the shadows, just as they once did, because in so many ways we still live in their world. The instincts that once kept us alive on the open plains are still here, humming quietly beneath the surface of our modern lives. The quick judgment of friend or foe, once vital when facing strangers in unfamiliar territory, now shapes how we react in crowded streets, in offices, even online. The fierce loyalty to the small band that meant survival still fuels our tribal instincts, whether in politics, sports, or the endless battles of opinion on social media. Our extraordinary adaptability, the same trait that carried humans from humid equatorial forests to icy tundras, now drives our technology and culture forward at dizzying speed. But it also feeds our weakness for short-term thinking, an advantage when facing a charging predator, but a liability when confronting slow-moving crises like climate change. We are tuned to react to rustling grass, not to the silent rise of global temperatures. Technology has amplified what our minds already knew how to do. The firelight circle has become a global web of communication, where stories, warnings, and ideas can reach millions in moments. Cooperation can now span continents, yet the same tools can magnify division and mistrust, playing directly into instincts shaped in a far smaller, more dangerous world. Understanding the echoes of our past is not about romanticizing it. It's about using that knowledge to shape our future. If we know where our minds came from, we can design systems, political, social, and technological, that work with our nature rather than against it. The question is whether we will choose to adapt with wisdom or let instincts forged for another world decide our fate in this one. You step back through the veil, and the world you know rushes in to surround you. The hum of electricity, the hard edges of walls and streets, the smell of asphalt and concrete. The damp, wild air of the past is gone, yet something has shifted. Everywhere you look, the people around you carry shadows of that other time. The sharp, assessing glance of a hunter, the warmth of an ally's smile, the unspoken weight of stories handed down across countless generations. Our cities are sprawling camps, our skyscrapers tall, glittering caves. The glowing screens in our hands are the new firesides, where tales, warnings, and dreams still move from one mind to another. The distance between the savannah and the skyline is not as great as it seems. And so the question lingers. If someone 100,000 years from now were to step into our time, what would they see? Would they call us kin, marvel at our tools, or pity our blind spots? Every age stands on this same threshold between what we were, what we are, and what we might yet become. The choice, as always, is ours.